Welcome back into the College Football Every Game on the Board podcast, week number 9, part number 5 with our closer, Sammy P. Sam, welcome in, buddy. You're looking dapper. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I got to return this suit after this segment. Let's make it quick, huh?
Absolutely, man. Hey, I think you're coming in, the nicest dressed guest that we've had and making your first appearance. So, hey, you're making waves already, man. And I know we got a bunch of games to get over here, but how's the college football and football season overall treating you?
College football's been good. NFL has been wonky, as it always is. You know, you're on the right side with 5 minutes to go, and then you suffer this brutal beat, a la the Patriots +3 in Vegas. I'm clearly over it. But I took one on the chin last week, man. I'm sure you remember the game. I had Pitt against Wake. I had Pitt +1, -1, -2, and they get the first down at the quarterback slides past the yellow line. They rule him short and then punt it, and then the third stringer on Wake naturally throws the touchdown for the win. But it's been a good college football season, especially in these smaller conferences, because you could pick these guys off sometimes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's what we're all about here on the Every Game on the Board. So happy to have you here, Sam. Thanks for taking the time. And guys, we are going 193, 194, Ohio State down to the end of the card. If you're new to Every Game on the Board podcast, we go over every single game in college football using the rotation numbers, the numerical numbers next to the team name on the odds page, going down in order. If you're watching live on YouTube or Twitter, this is part number 5. Podcast-wise, it will be right in the right order. We had to change things up, guys. Sorry about that. Mid-Major Matt going to the ACC basketball media day today, so his part will come up when Sammy P and I are done. But we're starting off here in the Big Ten, guys. 193, 194, Ohio State and Wisconsin. Sammy, we're seeing Ohio State, the Buckeyes, -14.5-point road favorites, 45.5 being the total. So going to have to win by more than 2 touchdowns in Camp Randall. You liking anything here? Buckeyes and Badgers.
I've got this one 31-13. So I still think up to 17, maybe a bet on Ohio State. I also like to watch too, Drew, when this thing opens up in Vegas. We know Circa opens the market Sunday afternoon, 2:00 East Coast, and they hung Ohio State 14 and immediately, right to 14.5, which is pretty telling because I grew up in the Big Ten. People love Wisconsin as a home dog, especially a double-digit home dog, but the market is clearly anti-Wisconsin. The quarterback has a broken hand. Ohio State getting healthier on offense, and they need those style points, bro. If they lose to Michigan, they're going to need these style points. They're going to have to win these games up to Michigan pretty handily. So I'd lay it still.
Do you think the loser of Michigan-Ohio State still punches their ticket into the playoff, or it's too early to tell? Like, too much can happen.
If everything breaks right, yes, but you're going to need Oregon to lose again. You'll probably need Oklahoma to lose. And then depending on what happens in the ACC, does Florida State go down? I don't think a one-loss Florida State team would get in. So there's a long way to go. But, I mean, thinking of the top 10, there are 3 of the top 10 teams in the country power rating-wise in the Big Ten. So a one-loss Michigan or a one-loss Wisconsin, assuming that game isn't a blowout, probably has the upper hand, at least as of now.
Like it. Good start here, guys, as we got BYU and Texas. Big 12 matchup up next. We are seeing the Longhorns -19. So -19-point home favorites, 50 being the total. BYU, welcome into the Big 12. Here you go in Austin. You like anything here, Sammy?
I was thinking about making you a price on will we see Arch Manning, and I didn't do it, but let's see. Let's go +155 that we see Arch. Now, Sark is saying that he's going to be ready, but it sounds like it's going to be Murphy from the shoot. And this is a game that I think it's very easy to go anti-Texas because they just almost lost to Houston, and now their starting quarterback, Quinn Ewers, is out. But I think anything under 21 is fair, and I'm actually not a big favorites person. Here I am laying 14.5 and 18, but BYU off the win of their season, maybe. They stunned Texas Tech, who, oh, by the way, was on quarterback 3. I think you have the perfect storm here. BYU just won outright. Texas almost lost, and we have a big number that people aren't going to want to lay, but I will lay it here. I've got 38-10 Texas. So not really have much faith in the Cougars offense, I guess.
Yeah, fair enough, Sammy. And we'll go from the state of Texas to sweet home Alabama here in Auburn, Alabama. We got Mississippi State at Auburn, guys. 197, 198, 3:30 Eastern kick. We're seeing the Auburn Tigers -6.5, 41 being the total. So low total here. And an Auburn team that, Sammy, I just came from Auburn. I just drove back to the Sunshine State here. And I'll tell you this about Jordan Hare in the tailgating. It was wild, man. I mean, for a team that's under 500 now, they are craving for a winner in Auburn, Alabama. The atmosphere should be there. Now, will the talent on the field be there for the Tigers to cover as a touchdown nearly favorite? What are you thinking on the Plains?
I made the game 6, so I can't really do much with it there. It opened 5.5. Now we're 6.5, so it's a dead pass for me there. Let's just say that Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan probably aren't going to watch this game for scouting purposes, right? I mean, we just did a game that was totaled, in the low 50s, and this one is in the low 40s. I don't love chasing the number, but this is one of those games. If I had to bet it, I would not bet the over because we all know it's going to be 10-10 in the fourth, and we're going to need overtime or something like that. I would lean under. I think the finals like 20-17, but not really much of an edge either way, side or total.
Fair enough. Staying in the SEC, heading over to Oxford, Mississippi, Vanderbilt, the Commodores versus Ole Miss. We're seeing Ole Miss as high as -25 here, 24.5 at BOL, 63 being the total, higher total here. But I think a lot of that has to do with Vanderbilt can't stop anybody, and Lane Kiffin is calling the plays for the favorite role. You like anything in Oxford?
Over, yeah. And this game has sort of idled on 63, which is fine. I've got it 48-21. So I'm going to play, with a 6-point edge, at least in my opinion. I'm going to play the over here. Ole Miss is probably going to name his score. And I think the good thing about Ole Miss is Lane has proven over the years, even when he takes the ones out, the twos have talent, man. I mean, they can move the ball too. I wouldn't be surprised. This is like 28-7 at half, and then the floodgates just barrel open and we get a game in the high 60s. So I'd be happy with the over.
Sure, Sammy. You bring up like the second string come in. I don't think enough people realize that if the head coach and the offensive coordinator are still calling, 5-7 step dropbacks and throwing the ball down the field with the backup quarterback, you got to factor that in rather than just a team, power and dive with the backups. And that makes a huge difference. So it's not just who's playing, it's how they're calling the plays down the stretch. So I thought that was a good point, man. As we're about halfway through here, guys, on the part 5 every game on the board. And Sammy, I hear you, the listeners hear you saying the score. Is that how you go through? You make the score for each game, like by your own numbers?
Yeah, use the power ratings, make the score. You add or subtract for home field or away. I feel like that's the easiest way. I started doing that when I was like 20 years old, first started betting. I was used to try to make the score. Before I would handicap the game, I would just close my eyes and make the score. And then obviously you start adding real math to it and not just pulling shit out of left field, then you start getting to that final score, you can go off. And if you have like a 4, 5, 6-point edge in a football game, obviously that's 2 possessions. That puts you in a good spot. But yeah, I've got final scores basically for every game. And if there's a big discrepancy between my number and the house, then those are the ones that I have to pour a little bit of extra sugar on.
Makes total sense here, guys. We're looking for some sugar on this podcast. We got South Carolina, Texas A&M up next. This is kicking us off on Saturday, 12 noon Eastern, 11 a.m. local time, -15 in the hook. That's the Aggies at home, 53.5 being the total. You liking anything Kyle Field, College Station?
Lean to the favorite. I mean, I think the origination of the number and then the corresponding move through that 14 is very, very telling. When you open 13.5 and it goes through that 14 by Tuesday, clear where the money's at in this one. And I'd love to take the points with South Carolina, but their offensive line, man, is not good. And I worry about their ability to get down the field and make big plays. I wouldn't even be surprised if South Carolina went up 10-7 or something like that. But A&M defensively too good to shut this down. I would even lay it 14.5, 15, 15.5. I've got it 37-14 Texas A&M. So
good breakdown there in the SEC. We got Big 12 up next. But first, shout out to our sponsor, Viva Tequila Seltzer. VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. Guys, that's where you can check it out. Get it sent to your house. 4.5% ABV. zero sugar. That helps with hangovers. 4 flavors, more coming. VivaTequilaSeltzer.com, proud sponsor of the podcast. And I believe, Sammy, you've tried Viva, right? Are you a big fan?
I've had it multiple times. They also sponsor our show on Nesson, and they sponsor Red Sox and Bruins coverage on Nesson. So we are in the Viva tree. We're in the family tree, you and I.
Good stuff. And guys, yeah, you can catch Sammy P there on Neeson, the ultimate betting show, every weekday, 5:30 Eastern time. Check it out on Neeson every weekday, and follow him on Twitter at SP Shoot. That's Sammy P Shoot, but his Twitter handle, just SP Shoot there. As we go to Cincinnati, Oklahoma State up next, we are seeing the Cowboys -7-point home favorites, 53 being the total. Stillwater, Oklahoma, as the Bearcats come in here, Sammy.
Yeah, this is not going to be a game that I'll watch, but I am intrigued. If you can find a 7.5, there are a couple still sort of hovering around. So always shop around, get the best number. This opened 8. I got bet down basically 7 in a lot of shops right now, but I made the game 7, so I can't sit here and be like, oh, I love either side. And then this total, I'm perplexed on what to do with the total. Like I'm at 52. I don't really like, again, if you're 53 in my face and I'm 52, I'm not exactly in a position to make a big wager on this. I would take 7.5 though, because I think eventually all those hooks are going to evaporate, and this could very easily land on 7. No doubt about it.
Heading to the Sun Belt up next. UL Lafayette in South Alabama. This Jaguars team from Mobile, Alabama is really rolling right now, Sammy, but they're having to lay doubles here. -10 at home. We're seeing 55 being the total. It's pretty much 10 across the board. We are seeing Bet Online lay the 10 in the hook. If you like the Ragin' Cajuns, maybe check it out there. Ragin' Cajuns at the Jaguars, Mobile, Alabama. Sun Belt Conference game here, Sammy.
I believe South Alabama was the best ATS team last year in the country. I don't have that in front of me, but we're going to just pretend that it's accurate. They did cover a lot. I know that. Okay, here you go, Mr. -10. 37-27 is what I made it. So okay. I'm not going to take or lay, but apparently I think there's an edge on the over, which has been bet up already. This opened like 53-55, but I'm in the mid 60s at 64. Look, all you need in a game like this, Drew, is you need a horse to set the pace. You need that early touchdown. Like I had a couple Texas State games this year where there's a touchdown in the first 2 minutes and it's just a freaking fireworks show.
Sure.
I also had a Texas State over 64. We didn't get a touchdown until the second quarter. So you got to get that first touchdown in this game just to kind of set the tempo. If that happens, I think we're off to the races here. So, yeah, I'm going to play the over in the mid-60s for sure. Or over in the mid-50s up to 60.
Okay, and I agree with you. In college football, we're seeing offense go more finesse. Like, if it's rolling, it's really rolling. And then the next week, like, for whatever reason, it's not rolling. You really got to watch out for that. And it's very hard on sports bettors sometimes. But good breakdown here. As you brought up South Alabama last year being the cover team of the nation, I'm thinking it was I remember South Alabama being up there, and also the next game, Tulane, the Green Wave, were one of the better teams against the spread. Willie Fritz on the road here in Houston. They're at the Rice Owls. A lot of listeners liking that from the FAU Owls. 53.5 being the total, -10 in the hook here. That's Tulane as the road favorite.
That is a very good owl. I didn't know you had that in your repertoire. I actually have a bet on this one. I took 11 with Rice. Now it's come down a little bit. I mean, I think you could still get 10.5 or 10. I would get it now. Wink, wink. I think we're going to cross through 10 by the time we get to kickoff. I'm low on this one. I'm at 27-20. So lean to the under. Rice has really done a good job of possessing the football and running the TOP. And that's what you really have to do against Tulane. You don't want Tulane out there for 40 minutes. You want Tulane out there for 25 or 30. Keep it an even split at the worst. But Rice is punching, man. I know they're not as sexy as Tulane. Tulane goes to a New Year's Six Bowl last year, brings a lot of that back. But I think this is a tough spot on the road against Rice. I'm not going to call my upset shot because I don't want to lose any credibility. But I took 11, and I would take anything above 10 or higher.
Yeah, this isn't your grandma's Rice team. They're definitely a lot better. So maybe a look here towards the underdog, at least plus the points, hosting the Green Wave. 3 games left, guys. We got Tulsa, SMU up next, 57 being the total. The Mustangs of SMU, -21 across the board. If you do want to lay it with the favorite, Bet Online, sponsor of the show, Bet Online. The game starts here. BetOnline.ag minus 20.5-point favorites. That's SMU as the home favorite hosting the Tulsa Hurricane here, Sammy.
So I'm going to give an assist to somebody. I'm going to just basically Stockton it to Malone, a buddy of mine who bets in Vegas very well, very good at what he does. I sent him this sheet, and he said, I said, give me your favorite bet. This is his favorite. He took the over, 209 over 57. He's got the game. He said it's going to be minimum 60s. And that's when a guy like that says something like that, all right, I'm going to just follow you down the hole because I didn't think there was much of an edge. I made it 40-20, but he's all over the over here, and you can still get 57 and a half. I am giving him the tip on this one because he's the one that told me, but those guys in the desert love the over here. And look, the favorite got hit too from 19 to 21. SMU is a team that wants to get up and down the field, so to see that sharp move on the favorite implies that we're probably going to get some points here too. And of course, the total in the high 50s, it's not going to be 10-7. So I'm going to just go and tail that one on the over, 209 over 57.
Do we get any names or a Twitter handle, or is that on the
call
hush
him
hush?
Knuckles? Why don't we just call him Knuckles? How about that?
All right, Knuckles from Las Vegas, like in the over in the Tulsa SMU game. 2 games left here. ECU, the Pirates, versus UTSA, the Roadrunners. Minus 18 in the hook. That's UTSA at home in the Alamo Dome. 46 being the total. ECU having a rough season here, Sammy. And UTSA, their quarterback was injured. Then they play FAU. I'm on FAU. They get blown out. So is UTSA now back? Hey, I'll throw it over to you. ECU, UTSA.
Definitely not taking the points. I think this is one of those tough games for me because I'm in that wheelhouse where I could go one of 2 ways. I could lay it with the favorite, or I could take the under. Either way, it's sort of a short of what ECU does offensively. Like if I made the team total 13.5 on East Carolina, what would you do?
I'd probably bet the over.
Oh, you would? Okay. Oh, interesting. All right. Because I was going to say under.
I wouldn't bet it because
right.
I don't like team totals that low. I think it's too volatile.
There's really not any margin for error with a team total of 13.5. But at the same time, like my concern is that I take the under in the game and UTSA only scores 10 East Carolina scores 10 and then UTSA scores 40 or something like that. And I'm just like, because the handicap is that ECU is going to struggle to score. So I guess now I have to figure out how to play it. I lean to the favorite, but I also think the under makes some sense too. Like I'm at 34-10, which is right under the total 46. So I guess I'll go gun to my head, take UTSA. We got there, buddy. We got there finally after I rambled forever.
All right. Well, we got 1 game left, guys, to finish off every game on the board podcast. Part number 4, excuse me. So you can get all the parts here wherever you're downloading your podcast at for week number 9, every game on the board. Please like and subscribe on the YouTube channel as well, and going live on Twitter, SP Shoot. That's where you can find Sammy P. I'm on Twitter at Drew Martin Bets. We got Viva Tequila Seltzer, vivatequilaseltzer.com, guys. Go check them out. Get it ordered to your house. Total Wine in Florida. They're all over the Northeast as well. Sammy P knows them. vivatequilaseltzer.com. No sugar helps with the hangover. And presented by Bet Online, guys. If you're looking for a sports book, go check them out. betonline.ag. The game starts here. Sammy, last game on the card. Get back special, degenerate special, whatever we're looking for. 12 p.m. Eastern, midnight Eastern is what I'm getting at here, guys. I actually think it's a.m. 12 a.m. Eastern time. San Jose State, Hawaii, 58.5 being the total. We are seeing SJSU minus 10 in the hook on the island. Not saying you got to bet it, but if somebody wanted to bet it, which way would you put them on?
As long as you handicap the Hawaii game before like 9 Eastern, I don't care. You could bet it. My issue is when you're looking up or you're scrolling on your phone and you're like, oh, man, Hawaii's on in 2 hours. That's the problem. The problem isn't betting the Hawaii game. The problem is gambling on the Hawaii game. But this is a true Hawaii game. This is the one that's going to end at 3:45 in the morning on the East Coast. So this is not one of those easy body clock games for the dog. Granted, you're not going that far from California to Hawaii, but I'm at 7. I think this game should be 7. So if you're going to give me 10 in the hook, with the Warriors late at night. I probably won't make it up for the end, but this is a game, especially Hawaii had a tough stretch as of late. I feel like this is one of those bounce back spots here, and they don't even have to win. You just got to lose by 10 or less. So if I'm going to make a game 7, the most key number to me in college football, and I can get 10.5, I guess I'm riding the rainbow. I'm doing it.
Rainbow Warriors for Sammy P every weekday on Nesson, 5:30 Eastern time. That's where you can check them out, guys. We'll get a best bet from him. Any final thoughts as well? The Ultimate Betting Show is what it's called. It's on Nesson, 5:30 Eastern time. And follow him on Twitter at SP Shoot. Sammy P, I'll throw it over to you, man. Do you have any final thoughts for the show and a most confident play or a best bet for the listeners?
Yeah, I really like Kansas here, man. I know it's going to be Bean, the quarterback. Don't expect to see Daniels the rest of the way. There's some stuff going on there that we don't have to get into. But you look at this number, open about 10, hung there for a little bit, and we're starting to see some pops on Kansas. Look, Kansas is going to give up points, but the Jayhawks do an outstanding job of manipulating the safeties. Every time you watch a Kansas game or watch Kansas highlights, there's a home run down the middle of the field because those safeties are always guessing, and we know Oklahoma can score, but they can also give up a bunch of points. This game is on the road, too, in Lawrence. I'm taking 10, 9.5, whatever you got. Anything over 9, I would take on Kansas.
Yeah, it looks like all the 10s have gone through. BetOnline does have a 9.5. We're even seeing 9s, like you kind of talked about. So it's moving for sure. I'm on it as well. So let's go Jayhawks, Sammy. I like lining up with you, buddy. Anything else you want to throw out there before we shut this down?
No, just thanks for having me, Drew. Anytime, anything you need, just let me know.
Absolutely. Yeah, we appreciate it. Great breakdowns. Feel free to comment below, guys, on YouTube, wherever you're downloading your podcast at. Every game on the board. We'll be right back with Mid-Major Matt. Thanks to Sammy P, and cash those tickets.